Tonight, Anthony Albanese sworn in and jetting out. Scott Morrison facing a Liberal backlash. Josh Frydenberg admits defeat. 3 Melbourne battleground seats still too close to call. The latest live. A bashed AFL fan lashes out at the thugs who attacked him with a didgeridoo, fracturing his skull. A perfect storm driving petrol prices to record highs. And Monday mayhem, major injury blows for big AFL stars.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Anthony Albanese has been sworn in and is on his way to Japan tonight to meet world leaders as Australia's 31st Prime Minister. His party is still sweating on a handful of undecided seats that will determine if it can form a majority government, while the Liberals are facing the fallout.
From the pre-dawn darkness of Marrickville in the final hours before it was made official.
Just fixing up the bags.
The Prime Minister-to-be packs a car for a packed first day.
I want to bring the country together and the new government starts today. Thanks very much.
From Sydney to Canberra, first stop Yarralumla, Government House.
Mr Albanese, good morning.
How are you?
To be sworn in by Governor-General David Hurley as the nation's 31st Prime Minister.
I, Anthony Norman Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will well and truly serve the Commonwealth of Australia.
He took an affirmation, no Bible, while the nervous Deputy Richard Marles chose a pocket-sized version. Next came Foreign Minister Penny Wong, Treasurer Jim Chalmers and Finance Minister Katie Gallagher, 5 ministers total. Mr Albanese hugging partner Jodie Hayden and his son Nathan. The rest of Mr Albanese's cabinet will be announced next Tuesday, sworn in on Wednesday. Next stop, Parliament House.
Prime Minister, how good does that title sound?
Sounds pretty good.
Moments before his first press conference, a hint of priorities to come. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags swapped in.
Thank you so much. That's great. It's a pleasure.
Mr Albanese had a spring in his step before his first address to the nation.
I am incredibly honoured and humbled.
How are you feeling? Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've been getting ready for some time.
He revealed he'd already asked for work to begin on a federal ICAC and an employment summit.
We won't be sacking public servants either. We'll be valuing public servants.
Next, constitutional recognition for Indigenous Australians, climate change, childcare.
I want to change the way that politics is conducted in this country.
And after regularly losing control of the media in the campaign,
you will not get the call earlier because you yell, okay? Like, can we just, on day one, get that clear?
But the biggest item on the agenda today...
We have a plane to catch. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
...wasn't domestic but global, heading back to the airport, back to Sydney, for a flight to Japan with Minister Wong to attend the Quad Summit with the Prime Ministers of Japan and India and the US President, who'd earlier tweeted he looks forward to a close partnership that will benefit the American people, the Australian people and the world. As the new Prime Minister flew out, the old PM was packing up here at Kirribilli House, with the issue of who would lead the Liberals made a little clearer today. Confirmation of what we already knew. It won't be Josh Frydenberg, officially conceding with an online message this afternoon. From one former minister not in the running...
Peter Dutton will be leader. I think you'll be incredibly effective, actually.
I will be backing Peter Dutton for the leadership.
Not according to the West Australian Premier.
He's an extremist. He's an extremist. I actually don't think he's that smart.
The Liberals are now close to winning 4 key seats on razor-thin margins, leading in Sturt by just over 0.5%, Menzies a similar result. The Assistant Treasurer is behind in Deakin. Bennelong is anyone's game, ticking back and forth between the Liberals and Labor. Chris Reason, 7 News.
And political reporter Jennifer Beshwati joins us now from Canberra. Jen, any more movement on who will become opposition leader?
Oh, well, Mitch, as of tonight, I can confidently say that Peter Dutton will become the next leader of the Liberal Party unopposed. I'm told that he has the numbers and there won't be anyone challenging him. He even has the support of senior moderates tonight. There are still some concerns within the moderate faction about how Mr Dutton is perceived by the public, particularly when they want to be socially progressive, but they believe Peter Dutton can be reasoned with. The real battle is for who becomes deputy. I'm told there are 4 women putting their hands up for that role: Anne Ruston, Karen Andrews, Susan Lee and Jane Hume. As for Scott Morrison, well, he's still coming to terms with the loss. Though he won't request a front bench position, he will remain on the back bench until such a time that he reconsiders his future. Peter?
Jennifer Beshwati in Canberra, thank you. Josh Frydenberg's admission of defeat in Kooyong makes him the first sitting Treasurer to lose his seat in more than 90 years. But 3 Melbourne battleground seats are still hanging in the balance.
Tipped to be a future Prime Minister, Josh Frydenberg is now a former Treasurer with no seat in Parliament.
I'd like to say thank you to all those I've had the pleasure to work with. It's been quite a journey. Your support and friendship has been extraordinary and deeply appreciated.
Mr Frydenberg hoped the power of the postal vote would save him, but after 2 days refusing to concede, the writing was on the wall, with Dr Monique Ryan ahead by 6,000 votes.
I've heard Josh Frydenberg say as late as this morning that he doesn't think his attacks on Victoria played any role in his loss in Kooyong, and all I'd say to that is denial ain't just a river in Egypt.
The new member for Kooyong accepted the win, saying the work of chopping wood and carrying water hasn't stopped. It's only just begun. Our team is preparing for the next step, helping ready me for entering Parliament. Other candidates still remain at the mercy of the count.
For the really close seats, it's going to come down to the postals, and we can't count what we don't have.
3 Melbourne seats remain too close to call. Deakin, where Labor is ahead thanks to a swing of more than 4%. Macnamara, where Labor's Josh Burns looks set to hold on to. And the once safe Liberal seat of Menzies, where the Libs have their noses in front despite a swing of more than 6% to the ALP.
Well, we've got a lot of interest in Macnamara down here, a lot of scrutiny as to that. We're going some postal counts today.
If a seat comes down to just 100 votes, a recount will be automatically ordered by the AEC. But a candidate can also request a recount if they're concerned about a tight result.
I am so proud of the team here. It's a weary time, but there's also the amazing payoff that you're contributing to delivering democracy for your community.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
And vote counting has finished for the day with a trio of seats still on that knife edge. Tegan Doling joins us now, and Tegan, results in some electorates might not be known for weeks.
Well, Mitch, postal votes can actually still be counted as long as they're received up to 13 days after the election. Obviously, the Electoral Commission is wanting to get it wrapped up as soon as possible. 2,500 workers will be back at work from 8 a.m. tomorrow. They've got a very busy job ahead of them because obviously it's those postal votes that will really determine the seats of Menzies, Deakin and here in Macnamara. Mitch.
Tegan Doling at South Wharf, thank you. The teal tsunami could flow on to the Victorian state election to be held in November. The millionaire pumping cash into the independents is now considering his next move.
Having conquered Canberra, Victoria may be next in November. The Teal Independents' major financial backer, Simon Holmescourt, said he was reflecting on what might happen next. But this hint: we must make sure this becomes a watershed rather than a moment. The state major parties insist they have nothing to fear.
I don't think they would have the same complaints about the record of this Andrews Labor government than they might have had about the Morrison Liberal government.
I'm not concerned as such about anything, Nick. I'm concerned about getting my message out about how the state recovers and rebuilds.
Federal Liberal MPs concede their attack on the Premier's COVID response backfired, but their state colleagues will not shy away from it.
There is clearly a lot of anger in the electorate toward the Premier and to the way he has been speaking down to so many Victorians over the last certainly few years.
Andrew's government ministers are confident the relationship between Spring Street and Canberra will improve dramatically almost immediately. The long wish list for the new Prime Minister starts with his promise to unlock the $4 billion of federal funds tied to the abandoned East-West link. They want to redirect that money to the suburban rail loop or the North East link. Victorian Labor also demands more from the GST. We have 26% of Australia's population but get only 22% of the GST take.
I'm very hopeful and confident that the era of Victoria being horrifically shortchanged by the federal government is over.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
A football fan is in hospital tonight facing at least one operation after he was attacked with a didgeridoo outside the MCG. The Essendon man was left with a broken nose and a fractured skull in what he says was an unprovoked attack by a coward.
A footy fan floored by a savage blow. His attacker armed with a didgeridoo. Leaving him with a broken nose and fractured skull.
Even watching the footage, like when I got hit, it looked like I fell and hit my head on the ground as well, so like I could have died right there and then.
The 25-year-old says he was the victim of an unprovoked attack as he left Dreamtime at the G on Saturday with his dad and their mates.
Two guys came from nowhere with a big stick and a didgeridoo, and that's when they started attacking us.
It's too sickening for his grandfather to watch.
I got a feeling if I do, I'll probably fall apart. I'm just holding myself together now. He's more than just my grandson.
He realised just how bad it could have been when he saw his grandson in hospital.
One more blow, he might have died. I took a bit of a turn in there. I took a dizzy spell because when I'm sitting there looking at him, I thought, oh no, please, please.
Yeah, just weak act, even carrying around something and wanting to use it as a weapon, then running away. Just weak coward.
The Richmond supporter has been going to the footy for more than 10 years, but says the attack has left him nervous about returning to the game he loves. He'll now spend at least 3 more nights in hospital recovering from his injuries.
A message to the attacker.
Put the shoe on the other foot. If it was one of your brothers or and he was laying there, how would you feel?
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
And a Tigers fan says he was unfairly kicked out of the Dreamtime game. Richmond member Scott Booth was ejected in the 4th quarter. He says 2 security guards occupied seats belonging to him and his pregnant partner, then refused to leave.
I normally take my kids if it's not a night game, and I feel like the security was definitely looking for a fight.
The ejection followed a brawl involving other spectators. Experts are predicting that petrol is about to surge to record prices again. Rochelle Brown has the details, and Rochelle, they're on the way up once more.
Mitch, it's bad news for family budgets. The cost of filling up is about to rise again. It's the result of a perfect storm. The Australian dollar is weak. There's been a fire at a major refinery in South Korea, a surge in the Singapore benchmark price, the war in Ukraine and China's COVID crackdown, all driving prices up. The national average for unleaded rose by 14 cents last week, with prices as high as $2.05 a litre.
Prices are the most expensive they've been in about 8 weeks at the moment, and really closing in on those record highs. We're only about 10 cents away at this stage.
Prices in Melbourne tonight are as high as $2.07 a litre, but experts say that could be much higher by as early as next week. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown at Port Melbourne, thank you. Controversial Victorian MP Bernie Finn has refused to resign in the face of tomorrow's motion to expel him from the Liberal Party. He's been accused of publicly criticising the opposition leader and the parliamentary party. Mr Finn denies the claims and has called on his supporters to show their feelings on the steps of Parliament. Several Victorian schools are now urging students and staff to wear masks again, with COVID and flu spreading rapidly through classrooms.
Wearing masks where you're comfortable to do so should be encouraged and appreciated, but the mask mandates were very difficult for many Victorians and particularly for children.
It comes as Victoria recorded just under 9,000 new COVID cases, with flu injections among children also on the rise. The threat of a swimming boycott over the Ukraine war has handed Melbourne a new sporting coup. The city will host the Short Course World Championships, which was supposed to be held in Russia.
Ariane Titmus made history in Adelaide.
Come on, go! She's done it!
Breaking the 400 freestyle world record at the national titles.
I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Melbourne could be next. It just won the right to host the World Short Course Championships in December. The event was meant to be staged in Russia, but FINA took away the hosting rights after it invaded Ukraine. Swimming Australia quick to respond with a boycott.
We were one of the first countries that went to FINA with the Russian invasion of Ukraine to sort of say that we wouldn't be competing.
The event will run for 6 days with 900 of the world's best swimmers from 180 countries.
As a proud Melburnian, it's very exciting to welcome the swimming world.
The World Championships join a smorgasbord of sport in Melbourne over the next 12 months, including the T20 World Cup, Melbourne Cup, Australian Open and F1 Grand Prix.
It's a huge coup for MSAC, with organisers promising just as much excitement out of the pool as there will be in it.
We're looking at a pool party on the pool deck kind of atmosphere. Options to put, seating over the top of the pool and create a little cauldron effect, because it's really going to be fan focused. DJ booths, food trucks. It'll be quite a different swimming event.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
Melbourne's mystery Powerball winner has been found. A St Albans woman is $40 million richer after she received the ticket as a gift.
She hasn't really slept since. There's been lots of cheers and lots of tears as well, so a very excited winner.
The winner plans to share the money with her family, buy a home and travel the world. Good luck to you. Tim Watson's here with a look ahead to sport. And Tim, the Cats are taking a cautious approach with their injured superstar.
Yes, they are, Mitch. They've wrapped Patrick Dangerfield in cotton wool. Hear from him later in sport and his response to calls to lose weight, while there's more trouble for a Magpies big man and an action-packed whip around the world in sport. Major trophies and incredible comebacks as Man City fans swarm the pitch. Mitch, one footy coach has sent a friendly warning to his young star. More on that soon. OK, we'll see you a bit later on. Thank you, Tim. There's concern and confusion as monkeypox spreads around the world. Next on 7 News, we're being told not to panic, but one question has experts baffled. Also coming up, how jealousy drove a man to run down his love rival. The new research that links dementia to where we live. A scooter rider pays the price for distraction. And later, a work-from-home twist, how bosses are tracking staff in their homes. A grieving family has laid out its anger and pain after a man was run down by a killer driver. Bradley McStay chased his ex-girlfriend and her new lover, then drove over him in a jealous rage.
Flanked by supporters outside court, Bradley McStay appeared in a good mood. But the father of two was far from happy the night he mowed down his ex-partner's new boyfriend after pursuing the pair in a jealous rage. McStay was furious about Catrice Knapp's relationship with Luke Price, who'd just been released from jail. Fearing a confrontation, the new couple had asked a friend to pick them up, but McStay was already close by. The possessive ex chasing their car at speeds of up to 130 kilometres per hour near Lang Lang. When Mr Price got out of his car, he was run down and dragged for almost 60 metres under McStay's ute. While chasing the other car, McStay left voicemails on his ex-partner's phone. In one of them, he told her whatever happened that night would be her fault. Mr Price's family were in court to stare down their loved one's killer, each telling a Supreme Court justice of how their lives had changed forever. My brother is gone and should still be here with us. I will never stop being angry and hurt over what happened. Bradley McStay has pleaded guilty to culpable driving causing death. He'll be sentenced tomorrow. Estelle Grieping, 7 News.
Melbourne researchers have found where you live could affect your risk of developing dementia. The Monash University study found people in more disadvantaged communities have poorer memories and higher risk factors.
We think that there are multiple factors that can influence this relationship. So, for example, less access to healthcare and educational facilities in these areas, as well as less access to green spaces to encourage physical activity.
The study recommends investments in local facilities to help improve heart and brain health. Experts are baffled by the rise of monkeypox as it spreads across the world. New cases are expected to continue to be detected, but Victorians are being told the risks are low.
After COVID, the outbreak of an unusual disease was always going to grip people's attention. But the US president says monkeypox is a threat that shouldn't be ignored.
We're working on it hard, figure out what we do and what vaccine, if any, may be available for it. But it is a concern in the sense that if it were to spread, it's consequential.
Israel, Switzerland and Austria, the latest countries to confirm cases, with monkeypox now reported in 15 nations, including Australia. Belgium, the first to introduce a compulsory 21-day quarantine, while the UK is advising high-risk contacts to isolate for 3 weeks and avoid children.
There are certain individuals who are much more at risk of severe disease, particularly immunosuppressed individuals or young children. In adults, we think it's relatively mild.
But experts are concerned and confused about why the virus is spreading now and beyond Africa, where it usually circulates.
The community transmission is largely centred in urban area, and we are predominantly seeing it in individuals who self-identify as gay or bisexual.
Initial symptoms are flu-like, followed by a rash. Governments stocking up on smallpox vaccine as scientists once again race to learn more. In London, Sarah Greenwich, 7 News.
An e-scooter rider has learned the hard way why it's important to pay attention at all times. He was flipped onto a car's bonnet in Adelaide, a collision caught on dash cam. The rider seemed to escape unscathed, apologising to the driver before scooting off again. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, we're in a run of classic late autumn days.
Mitch, it is a stretch of cold and foggy starts that slowly clear to sunshine. By midday today, it was still foggy in the south. Geelong was only 9 degrees at lunchtime, while the city had jumped up to 14. Scoresby and Watsonia then peaked at 20, lovely in the hazy sunshine, while Point Cook and Torquay struggled to reach 13. Tomorrow's fog should clear earlier, and with more sunshine it'll feel a touch warmer. Then there is rain on the horizon. The details are after sport, Mitch.
See you then. Thank you very much, Jane. It's overdue, but there's a major boost on the way for the Melbourne suburbs suffering growing pains. Next on 7 News, the West gets millions to catch up as communities plead for a fair deal. Also, the man wanted over a sex attack in Melbourne's north. The Air Force ordered in to deal with a baby formula crisis in the US. And later, what chiropractors want you to know about a painful pandemic hangover. Police are hunting for a man who sexually assaulted a woman in a daylight attack on a Coburg street. The woman was walking along Sydney Road near Munro Street around 11:30 on Saturday morning. The man's described as in his late 20s with olive skin and a dark fringe. An alert member of the public has helped save a missing hiker in the Grampians. 52-year-old Richard Johns was all smiles after being found by police on a track late last night. A passerby had called police about a man who was struggling and lost. He sparked a search after failing to return from a hike on Saturday afternoon. A multi-million-dollar upgrade is planned for Werribee Hospital to cope with soaring demand. But Western Suburbs locals say much more infrastructure is needed for their booming area.
Werribee Mercy Hospital's in-demand emergency department is desperate for an upgrade. The state government now promising more beds, staff and bigger rooms.
This emergency department is servicing already about 250,000 people, and in the next 10 years will service almost 500,000 people.
It will also enable our hard-working paramedics to get in and out quicker.
The city of Wyndham is one of the biggest growth corridors in Australia.
We've got a population of about 328,000 now, and we're anticipating that that will grow to about 510,000 in 2041.
Community advocates say there's a lot more to do to keep up with the population boom, including better connecting residents to public transport and roads.
It's not straightforward any longer, so we need to have that sort of overall planning for our municipality.
The Committee for Wyndham is calling on the state government to utilise this land to build new infrastructure in East Werribee. It says it's been sitting vacant for years and could create thousands of jobs.
That's got to be number one on the agenda.
The state opposition says it's not just Werribee with overdue health promises, saying Melton and Geelong are also still waiting.
These kind of hoax announcements where the government says, oh, it's coming, but wait another 2 to 3 years, I think that's what people, particularly in growth areas, are really sick of.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Overseas, Ukraine is refusing to concede any territory to Russia. Troops in the southeast have been getting into position despite Russia's lead negotiator suggesting Moscow could be open to another round of peace talks. The war has seen nearly 6.5 million people flee Ukraine. That means worldwide the number of people forced out of their homes has now topped 100 million for the first time. Female television presenters in Afghanistan are being forced to cover their faces after the Taliban issued a new decree. It's part of a hardline crackdown controlling women's appearances in public. Male colleagues at Kabul's 24-hour news station have also started covering their faces as a show of support. And the Queen has handed over another of her royal responsibilities to Prince Charles. For the first time in 70 years, Her Majesty won't receive the Trooping of the Colour salute at her official birthday parade next month. Instead, Charles will take on the official duties, along with Princess Anne and Prince William. The Queen is still expected to attend. A military transport plane has landed in the United States packed with baby formula. It's the first in a series of flights ordered by President Biden to counter an alarming shortage.
This is what it takes to feed the babies of America. Operation Fly Formula, a military title for a US Air Force effort ordered only after the President invoked wartime powers.
This shipment provides enough formula to take care of 9,000 babies and 18,000 toddlers for a week.
That's a drop in the bucket against a national formula shortage.
It is scary.
Long Island's Adriana Iath is reliant on a prescription powder because of son Copa's dairy allergy. That's the kind of formula on today's flight from Europe. It's headed for hospitals and clinics to distribute it based on medical need.
The children that need these formulas, there aren't any substitutions, there aren't any shortcuts.
The shortage triggered when America's biggest baby formula maker shut its Michigan plant after 4 infants fell ill with bacterial infections. Now, President Biden is under such political pressure, he's tweeting about the shortage between meeting foreign leaders in Asia. We have secured a second flight to transport formula.
When it starts happening and it starts getting back on the shelves, I think that's when people are going to feel at ease.
In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Chiropractors warn a worsening addiction to devices is putting us at greater risk of tech neck. Discomfort, stiffness and pain are being put down to more internet use through the pandemic.
It's not that we can't use it, it's just that we tend to be using it a lot more and not really being conscious of our posture while we're using it.
They say bending the neck too far forward can be like putting up to 27 kilograms of weight on the spine. There's a new twist in the work from home revolution. Next on 7 News, how bosses are tracking staff in their own homes. Also ahead, a troubled former TV host released from jail, but with a catch. And the woman who went to hospital with stomach pains and left with a baby. Former TV host Andrew O'Keefe will leave jail, but with a catch after being granted bail. The 50-year-old has been behind bars since January, charged with assaulting a former sex worker. He's pleaded not guilty and was granted bail on the condition he checks into rehab. O'Keefe will face court again next month. Australian shares have been holding steady after our big election weekend. Here's finance editor Gemma Acton with a check on the markets.
Thanks, Peter. Well, relief at a clear election result gave way to concerns over a spike in COVID cases in Beijing, with the ASX 200 finally closing just 3 points higher at 7,149. Major banks and retailers were among those dragging the index lower. Now, despite the turn in sentiment, the Aussie dollar pushed higher, breaking back through 71 US cents, while oil and iron ore prices both rose in what was a strong session for commodities. And household spending in March rose by 6.6% compared to a year earlier, the biggest jump coming from recreation and culture. Meanwhile, the biggest drop was in alcohol and tobacco purchases. Peter.
Thanks, Gemma. Victorians working from home are being warned it's very likely they're being watched. New research has found a majority of companies have installed spyware to keep an eye on their employees.
Less commuting, lower childcare costs, more time for family. While millions relish a better work-life balance, employees are being warned their bosses are watching.
Recent research indicated that up to 80% of organisations around the world have put what they call spyware or tattleware on their equipment, and in Australia it's more like 90%.
Surveillance software sales have skyrocketed. On company-supplied computers, employers can monitor keyboard use, mouse movements and use location tracking software.
They can open up your security camera or your Wi-Fi camera, or they can use a phone's GPS to see where you are, or keyloggers to see what you've been typing.
Spyware is marketed as a measure of productivity and efficiency, but workers are concerned about a loss of privacy in their own homes.
There was an increased sense that you were being watched all the time, and I think people found that quite stressful. There are different laws in different states with regards to how much you can do.
While workers have found creative ways to fool the boss, smart technology is getting more sophisticated, and it's here to stay.
There's no indications that it improves productivity.
Workers are urged to use private devices for private matters.
Pretty much behave like we are being watched.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
It's something most expectant couples take months to plan, but one New South Wales couple had just hours to prepare for a new baby. Emma Fitzsimmons entered the emergency room with stomach pains before a test revealed she was 40 weeks pregnant. The shocked new mother and partner Aaron leaving hospital with a healthy baby girl, Willow Rose. Two quintessential Australian foods are being combined to create Vegemite baked beans. SPC teamed up with Bega to deliver what it's calling the ultimate snack. The brains behind the controversial combination say it'll give people a reason to fall in love with the foods all over again. We shall see. Tim Watson is next with sport. And Tim, there's breaking news from the match review officer.
There is. Mitch, a footy star has been sent straight to the tribunal for serious misconduct. We'll have live details next. Also, Patrick Dangerfield gives us an update on his calf injury. The latest from Punt Road as the Tigers brace for a Friday night blockbuster. Two incredible comebacks on opposite sides of the world reaping rewards, and Golden State fly high in the NBA. Welcome back. There's breaking news from AFL House on a dangerous tackle involving a young Collingwood star. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has the details. And Tom, the serious misconduct charge has been sent straight to the tribunal.
Tim, Jack Ginnivan, we know, has been ruffling feathers all year, but Switkowski has been referred from Fremantle straight directly to the tribunal for serious misconduct for a chicken wing tackle on Ginnivan. It's going to be interesting to see the outcome, of course, made famous, the chicken wing by Chris Judd. Ginnivan was involved in some controversy earlier in the game, in the third quarter in particular. He's known for his celebrations. He celebrated a goal before putting it through. This was coach Craig McRae's response.
Oh, what do you do there? Like, you want them to be themselves and just kick the goal and then maybe celebrate with your teammates might be the message, but he's been very good for us, Jack, hasn't he?
And Tom, you got fresh details too on a nasty injury to Mason Cox.
Yeah, Collingwood's cautiously optimistic tonight. Graham Wright told me regarding his dislocated finger. Hopefully it's not too bad. Moving, of course, to Friday night, a huge clash between Richmond and Sydney. Some significant injury news. Tom Lynch won't play Friday night, a recurrence of that hamstring from earlier in the year in a different spot. Lambert also won't play. He won't start training, Tim, with hip concern until post the bye. Jack Riewoldt stopped by for scans, so there was no issue there. That was just on the hand that he had surgery on earlier in the year. Some devastating injury news for the Swans. We flagged this. Josh Kennedy, one of the Swans' favourite players, will miss 8 to 10 weeks with his hamstring injury. He doesn't require surgery, but at his age it is career-threatening. And just finally, Tim, the flu has been sweeping through clubs. The Saints had all their flu shots, so the theory at club level in clubland is that players haven't had the flu now under COVID conditions for 2 or 3 years, and a lot of them are experiencing bad symptoms as a result. Tim?
Thanks, Tom. Geelong superstar Patrick Dangerfield could miss up to 2 weeks after re-injuring his calf. It comes as the star midfielder dismissed suggestions he should lose weight to help end a run of soft tissue injuries.
Patrick Dangerfield arrived for scans, sensing he was set for another stint on the sidelines.
Well, certainly not ideal. That being said, I'm not writing myself off just yet.
The midfielder missed 2 weeks with a similar calf complaint earlier this month, but suggestions he slim down in a bid to prolong his career have fallen on deaf ears.
It's not something I've sort of listened to or heard, to be honest. So, yeah, focus at the moment is actually getting the proper diagnosis.
It's been an inconsistent start to the season for Geelong. The next month will be pivotal to their top 4 chances, with games against Adelaide, the Western Bulldogs and West Coast to come.
I feel like we're trending in the right direction. You know, this week sets up another opportunity to actually build that consistency and win 2 in a row.
Ed Langdon is a chance to face Fremantle. The winger spent a night in hospital after a crunching tackle left him with sore ribs. The free kick against Taron Thomas was controversial at the time, but players support the harsh, dangerous tackle interpretation.
The tackling stuff is purely designed to, protect the players' heads or, the concussion, because it is such a important part of our game.
Jack Viney could return on Saturday after missing the win over North Melbourne with a tight hamstring. Injured pair Christian Salem and James Harms also trained, but are still 1 to 2 weeks away from a playing return. Natalie Yannidis, 7 News.
Cody Simpson has no hard feelings about the Kyle Chalmers tumble turn that cost the pop star his spot at the World Championships. Simpson aimed his comeback at the Paris 2024 Olympics, and Commonwealth Games selection puts him well ahead of schedule.
It was obviously still up in the air, as to what Kyle was going to do and if he was going to race, and it turns out he is, and that's great. So I'm excited to be able to go over to England with the boys.
As we showed earlier, Ariarne Titmus spearheads a 73-member Birmingham team after breaking Katie Ledecky's 400 freestyle world record in Adelaide last night. American Justin Thomas has come from the clouds to snatch a remarkable victory at the PGA Championships. The win was helped by a dramatic collapse from the outright leader on a brutal final hole.
Leading by 1 shot with driver in hand on 18, searching for a maiden major title.
He's going with a lot of club again. Look at that follow through.
Nerves got the better of Chilean Mito Pereira. His shot at glory washed away in an instant.
Oh my goodness, it's in the water.
A double bogey that will haunt him for quite some time, all while Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris were waiting in the clubhouse. The pair facing off in 3 playoff holes. Finally, Thomas emerged victorious.
It's just in time. Again at the PGA Championship.
A 7-shot swing, the 3rd largest final round comeback in major history. Wild scenes in the UK with the Premier League title on the line for Manchester City. Needing a win, they fell behind 2-0 against Aston Villa before an incredible burst of 3 goals in 5 minutes.
From the brink of despair, elation from catastrophe.
Fans stormed the pitch after the final whistle to celebrate their second straight league title and fourth in 5 years. Charles Leclerc surrendered the Formula One Championship lead at the Spanish Grand Prix. He broke down on lap 26 as Max Verstappen led a Red Bull 1-2 with Sergio Perez. Andrew Wiggins went flying in the NBA.
Drops the sledgehammer! Wow! Oh my goodness!
Golden State taking a 3-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals with a 9-point win over Dallas. And Thanasi Kokkinakis and Alexei Popyrin both first-round losers at the French Open. Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
The dunk is the equivalent of the specky in AFL football.
Yes, no doubt about it at all. And what about Craig McRae's advice for young Jack Ginnivan? Kick the goal first, then celebrate?
I think so. He's testing his patience, I think, at the moment.
You don't often see that these days. A player celebrates before.
No, but there's always been a pesky little small forward in the game, hasn't there?
Yeah, there, as always. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how is it looking tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, there is more fog at first, but it should quickly clear to sunshine. Then some rain on the horizon. The details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, first stop Tokyo. We're live as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese touches down in Japan. Back to Biloela, we check in on the refugee Tamil family as they prepare for their journey home. And everything you need to know about the global spread of monkeypox. Join me for the latest from 7 News at 11.
The Big Reading Rethink. Overhauling the way we teach our children to read.
Across schools, it's been very powerful.
Going back to basics with remarkable results.
The teacher said her reading's gone really high.
A special family report, 7 News at 6 with Peter Mitchell.
Hello again. We've had a high-pressure system over us for a few days now. That leads to foggy mornings and sunny afternoons, but it also traps in all the pollution, so the sunshine, when it returns, is hazy. Before this morning's fog rolled into the city, it was 6 degrees at midnight. Then once the fog cleared, it jumped up to 17. But temperatures certainly varied a lot across town, depending on how long the fog took to clear. One spot, only 13, another 20 degrees. The fog was mainly about central parts of the state. Much of the rest had sunshine all day. There are showers and thunderstorms streaming into the New South Wales coast, but it doesn't cross the border into Victoria. A stubborn high-pressure system is responsible for Sydney and Brisbane's run of wet weather, a now stretch of foggy days. Foggy starts, then sunny days. Now, it is over us while it brings onshore winds in for them. There is a complex area of low pressure that is impacting the west. One of the low centres will cross the southwest overnight with heavy rain, destructive winds and thunderstorms. That area of low pressure crosses the Bight tomorrow. We still have that high over us, so we'll have yet another day of fog clearing to sunshine. Light winds, a cold night and cool afternoon. As the complex weather system peaked in the west, it isn't much by the time it reaches us. Low pressure should affect Victoria from Wednesday through to Friday. But it runs out of steam and it runs out of moisture, so there's nothing dangerous by the time it reaches us. We're looking at 5, possibly 10 millimetres. That is north of the Divide. There is less for the south. Around the nation, tomorrow is still showery in Sydney and Brisbane, but only the cloud reaches Canberra. Light winds and sunshine for Hobart. Adelaide, sunshine, that'll slowly turn to cloud. It is dangerous in Perth overnight, but it eases there tomorrow morning as the low moves away. To Victoria, the cold nights continue with areas of morning fog and frost. This is mainly in the south and east tomorrow morning. After that fog clears, it is a cool to mild and sunny day. However, in the west of the state, we'll start to see high cloud coming in, pushed out ahead of all that wet weather in the west. There's no rain here tomorrow, just that wispy high cloud. Closer in, here is the fog at first tomorrow morning, but watch how quickly it clears out much faster than today. So that means there is sunshine for more of the time tomorrow. So we'll have a pleasant Tuesday once it warms up. Early fog in the city. That should clear out by 9 a.m. for a sunny but hazy day thanks to light northeasterly winds. It should rise to 19 after another cold start. To the 8-day outlook, there's no more fog on Wednesday. Instead, we'll have sheets of high cloud and the wind picks up a bit. It's a moderate northeasterly, so that'll clear out that haze. It's another top of 19. Thursday and Friday, cloudy. We're looking at temperatures about 17. No more cold nights. There's just some patchy light rain moving through. It clears up for the weekend and then a burst of showers early next week. The fog clears earlier tomorrow. We'll have a sunny day, another cold start. Then we rise to 19 tomorrow. Mitch, did you enjoy that two suburbs that hit 20 today?
Yes,
very
amazing,
exciting for late May.
We've had a great run. That was a cracking weekend, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yes, and 1 or 2 more days of it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jane. Now here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, how would you like an iPhone for $14 or a PlayStation for $6?
Massive savings across major brands. Your guide to the biggest sale of the year.
The exclusive offers first, right here. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Monday, the 23rd of May. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.